I have spent hundreds of hours reviewing content strategies for my clients, and recently we used what I'm about to cover in this video to grow a new business to over $250,000 in cash collected in its first month using social media. In this video, I'm going to share some of the insights I've learned from reviewing over 160 content strategies and exactly what's been winning, what's been losing, and most importantly, how you can use content to not only get views and get more traffic and get more attention, but also turn that attention into money and more clients and more business for our company. But because I'm more focused on the money side than the getting views side, in this video, I'm joined by my good friend Brian, who runs a YouTube agency that can pretty much turn anyone into a viral sensation overnight. He's generated millions of views for his clients like Davey Fogarty, vidIQ, Instantly AI, Hype Fury, and many more. So in this video, we're going to aim to combine my experience from doing the money-making stuff and Brian's experience from the getting views stuff to basically share everything you need to know to get the most out of your content in 2024. With people like Alex Hormozi dropping value bombs left and right, and every guru and their mother trying to tell you to do it this way or do it that way, hopefully by the end of this video, you'll have a clear plan on how you can start making content for your business today and start making money from it as soon as humanly possible. And because I know a lot of people feel like they're not qualified to make content on social media for their business, what we cover in this video is going to show you how you can position yourself as an authority, even if you don't have a big business track record, you haven't scaled a big company. We're going to show you exactly how to make great content without that stuff so you can start today. Whether you have a track record, whether you have no track record, this is the video to watch if you're trying to build a content strategy in 2024 and dominate your entire industry. I don't think everyone deserves to be looked at. Real shit. If I post on YouTube the most optimized way forever, and I did it for 20 years, and I only ever get 1,000 views, and I try really, really hard, it might just be that I'm not that interesting. And I would say that to myself. I would look in the mirror. If I look at my stuff right now, and it's like, why do I get like 2,000 views on a video that I think is a good video? It's probably not that interesting.
Yeah.
The only good branding advice that I have gotten in my experience is that you really just have to go inward and decide what do you stand for? What's the stuff that you like? He's leaning into his strengths in a massive way. Like the reason his videos look so cool is probably because he's got a real taste. Like he's got a big amount of taste about him. Like he really loves, like his office is sick. He's got all these lights. Like everything looks awesome. He's just probably does that normally. Like that's just probably stuff he normally does. When it comes to producing his videos in a way that looks good and looks, sexy and aesthetic. Pause, but.
So to give some context on what we're going to talk about, Hormozi last month released a video talking about how he's just pivoting towards business content. So he did broad content for a really long time, and now he's just narrowing down to just business content. And he's posting like 4 times a week on YouTube, long form, 20, 30, 40-minute videos, and he just goes like really tactical into like a specific item, specific field.
Yep.
And like one of his latest videos, it's just talking about email marketing, right? Which is really super narrow, right? And you run 1,000x leads, you have clients running businesses, and one of the main things that you tell them to do is you got to create content on social platforms, LinkedIn, YouTube, and whatnot. So I kind of just want to talk about that to see what insights you've kind of seen, where people are shifting. Do you agree? Do you disagree? And like just leave it up for discussion there.
100%. This is such a good topic because it's really relevant with people who post business content and they get no views. A lot of the time they're thinking, oh, well, no one's interested in my stuff. And then someone tells them, or if they go to a YouTube strategist or a content strategist, they'll say, go broader, you get more views. And they don't really have the backing or they don't have the experience to be able to say, this isn't going to attract my customers, when in reality it won't. So it's really important that this is covered in depth as well. I've got some opinions about it as well, specifically about what Hormozi said about it. I've got what I think is, I don't know, I haven't heard anyone talk about it the same take, but I've talked about it with a few people and never agreed. So not to gas myself up and think I've got the solution, but I think it's a very fragile topic is kind of what I mean. Like, because if you change your content strategy, you change everyone that comes through your pipeline. So it's a very important topic. So I didn't know you were going to bring this up, but I like the idea. Yeah.
Yeah, because what I've kind of seen with like my clients are coming to me, oh, I just want to talk about really in-depth business content. But, mainly I help my clients with YouTube. It's really difficult to compete on like the copywriting level and, on the information level with someone like Hormozi, who has like, built like $100 million company, and has experience in so many different niches. He started e-commerce, SaaS, so he has insights into all of that. So like his information is like really premium, right? And he has like such a huge team backing him. Like what I see with my clients, it's really difficult to compete on an information level. So it's like, okay, do we just strictly talk about business? Do we go a little bit more broad? I think it's like kind of in the center. What do you think?
With how broad you go, it's never gonna be just do that one thing. Like it's never ever like with no strategy in anything, even with like content, outreach, ads. It's never like, oh, just do that one thing and you're gonna be fine forever. It's gonna always be, well, you need to do like talk about your business stuff, talk about your niche business stuff, talk about your expertise, etc. But it's always gonna be, it's still gonna have to be appealing, entertaining, look good. You're still going to need to have your hook, have your good positioning on the video. You're still going to need all that stuff. That doesn't just go away. You know what I'm saying? And I think if you take it too literally, or if you take the information too literally, where you're saying, oh, well, you're just going niche business content, that's what he's saying. That's what he might be saying. But on the video, the positioning, the title is still titled in a way that can go as broad as possible with that title, if you know what I'm saying. It's still going remarkability. It's still going really hard with a banger thumbnail. And even something to note is that Layla recently posted a video, how I brainwashed myself to becoming rich. So that's not a strategy about email marketing. So he's saying we're doing just business content. And here's what my theory is that I was going to say before, not to just like weave it in, but I think it's relevant here. He's saying I'm going deep business content after doing TOF, top of funnel, for 3 months and going broad for 3 months. So after gaining however many subscribers that he's gained on this run, that he's been really pumping, broad content, now he's got a few extra 100,000 subscribers and he's saying, well, I've just got a bunch of TOF. I'm personally going to do more middle and bottom of funnel and less broad content, more narrow stuff. Because in terms of his specific strategy, it makes a lot of sense for him to do that now. Way more than it would have before when he didn't have as much of a following. Compare that to someone like Layla, who's probably more similar to someone like yourself, someone like me, or someone like who might be watching this video. Someone like Layla is still posting a broad thing because it's like, hey, I've got all these videos about hiring, operations, whatever my skill is, whatever my niche is. Got all those videos about that. I'm going to mix in a broad video of how I brainwash myself to become rich, because you still need that flow. So Hormozi can look back and say, oh, well, these videos did better for me in terms of getting more customers. I need to make more about these videos. But that isn't the full story, because there was still a lot of top of funnel stuff that got him all the traffic in the first place. So it's really hard to quantify. It's absolutely not Hormozi's fault for saying this. It's not misleading it. But you definitely have to take someone's review of their own performance with a grain of salt, because even, if he's looking back on it with his whole team, even they can't quantify how many of those viewers that watched his cookbook video would eventually turn into people that download his lead magnets. It's such like a fugazi thing to try and track. So really, that's why I say not only is it never going to be not only is it never going to be just do that one thing, because multiple strategies always work all at once, but it's also because the person who's saying, oh, we just did this, that's not always the whole story, because that's not everything that went in to the success. There's so many more things that go into it, as you would know.
Yeah. Yeah. So for like, random business owner, has no presence on social media, what Hormozi did, it's like, okay, when he wasn't really famous, he go really broad. He talked about philosophy, he talks about, gym stuff, and now he's like narrowing down. Is it more of a case of you go broad at first and then you niche down? I know like many people do say that, but like, is this like kind of like validated by Hormozi, or do you just go like super niche? If you're doing email marketing agency, you just talk about strictly email marketing, you talk strictly about e-commerce, you talk strictly to your ICP, and you don't really try to go broad. Like where do you kind of stand with that?
Well, it's like I said, it's not going to be like, oh, just do broad stuff. It's not going to be just do, narrow stuff. It's going to be, well, I'm posting 3 videos a week. Maybe I'll do 1 video a month or 2 videos a month that are more broad, that can just get a bit of flow. Then I might do, of my 3 videos a week, 70% of them are going to be about specifically using the email marketing example. Maybe I'll do 2 out of 3 videos just about email. Maybe I'll do 1 video about broader e-commerce. Because if you list out all the topics you can talk about based on what you're interested in, what you're good at, let's say you list out all those topics, there's going to be a different sort of total addressable market of that content, as you would know. It's going to be like, if I talk about getting jacked. That total addressable market might be all men, or the subsection of men that want to get jacked, or plus women, whoever wants to get jacked.
Yeah.
But if I talk about how to cook this, very specific chicken in this very specific way, it's going to be people that like chicken that get interested in that. The same way if I talk about email marketing, people that are interested in email marketing will click on that video. If I talk about broader ecom, people that are interested in ecom will click on that video. Hopefully, if we're good at positioning.
Yeah.
So it's just about, we're targeting different audiences with every piece of content with the messaging. So you can play around with the intention of a video just by saying, well, this one's going to be more bottom of funnel. If I'm talking about, how to set up a pop-up in Klaviyo, like some random email marketing thing, versus here's how to grow an e-commerce store in 2024. Different kind of audiences. The idea is just that it's a funnel. So like you have your top of funnel, middle, and bottom. So it's like you just, not saying I'm a complete expert on it, but that's how I would be approaching it in terms of, hopefully a way where we can kind of get the best of all these things.
Yeah, so like I'm wondering how you're kind of applying it to your current content that you're putting out. Is that like, do you think about it in terms of like top funnel, middle funnel, bottom funnel across all platforms? So like Twitter, you want to have that kind of content. YouTube, you want to have that kind of content. Instagram, you want to have that kind of content. Or is it like specific social platforms? Okay, maybe Instagram, you go a little bit more top of funnel because it's short form. Twitter, it can be a mixture with like long form threads and the short form tweets that you can just fire out from your phone whenever. How do you kind of think of that?
It's always going to be all of them across every platform.
Yeah.
So like on YouTube, I might make a video. I found the infinite clients glitch. That's going to appeal to people who have clients. Then I might make one that's routine based. So if I'm making a productivity video about routine or focus or whatever, I'm going to position that video pretty broadly because anyone can watch that video. So if I've got a video idea that can get a broader range of people, I'm going to just try and make it for that, but then skew in, I'm going to tweak, I'm going to just sneak in stuff about business or stuff about agency stuff or anything like that, where it's kind of, you're just guiding people through the journey. Like you really want to, like if you're trying to capture a lot of people, you're going to try and do that. It's just like, I'm not going to do that all the time because it's obviously going to be a waste of time if you just get a bunch of views and no clients,
Yeah. I think with Hormozi stuff, it's like really interesting because like clients come to me and they're like, okay, I want to do this authentic Charlie Morgan style. I want to do the whiteboard. I want to have, I want to flip the paper and
it's because it's sick.
Stuff.
It's because it's sick. It's because they love that content. So if they love that content, I love Charlie Morgan shit. He's awesome. Like if I watch his stuff, I'm like, oh, that's sick.
Yeah.
But it's like, I'm like, do my customers like that? If they do, which they probably do, I'm like, okay, that's something I can use. Is that what you're kind of trying to say? Or are you saying it's not replicatable?
I'm not saying it's not replicatable. I'm just saying that it's hard to compete on that level because if you're thinking about creating social content, it's like specifically on YouTube, right? It's difficult to just replicate someone's style because if you copy Hormozi's whiteboard, you'd be like, oh, this guy's just trying to do Hormozi's whiteboard, especially if you're doing like broad business. And it's like, okay, then you're not really standing out. What I'm seeing is like, okay, people are trying to compete on an information level, right? How can they beat Hormozi's information? How can they have better insights than Hormozi? And I think for most business owners, it's just really difficult because most business owners don't have that kind of range, right? Hormozi's really good at marketing, he's really good at sales, he's really good at offers, he's really good at operations. Not to say it's impossible to kind of get to the level. Hormozi is still relatively young. He hasn't had like 20, 30 years in business or whatever. But competing on an information level with someone with that kind of quality of information, it's just really difficult. And if you're going to do the same style, it's impossible to replicate. I don't know, that's what I think. And clients kind of come to me and like, okay, I kind of want that. It's like, that's kind of like misguided, a misguided thought process based on one video that he made. That's what I see at least.
100%. I think that's a really good take. Like it's a really good take. However, the one thing that I would say is, do you think that you believe that just because you're top 1% awareness on YouTube, you personally, you would see every single video that someone that's big would post because that's like part of your job. You're like, yeah, I want to see all this stuff. I want to be aware of what's going on. Do you think that you would think that if you've never seen a Hormozi video? Because there's still a lot of people in the market that don't know Hormozi. There's still a lot of people that don't watch every video of his. So yes, very, very difficult to compete with Hormozi on that level, or someone who's posting really good content, really just using Hormozi as a placeholder there. But do you think that would rule out that sort of style for everyone because, yeah, of course he's kind of winning at the moment. He's doing really well. That doesn't necessarily mean the whole market is tapped. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's really hard, in my opinion, for something to get really saturated because even with the raw, authentic style videos, they still do really well for a lot of people, even though some people might argue, oh yeah, that's just a raw, authentic style, like that's just the trend that's going in. But that like raw reality type video, that printed for like 10 different people, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So even though one guy might have done it well, there's still the second movers that can still really take advantage of that. So it's kind of a balance that you have to gauge. Whereas like maybe at the start, maybe I'm just really aware of it, maybe it's still going to work, and then there's kind of like a diminishing return. Do you know what I'm saying? So where would you try and find that balance?
That's a really. I think the main problem there is like they see Hormozi, they think, okay, I'm just gonna go all in on business content. It's like, oh, I'm a business guy. I kind of just have to like do broad business too. So they kind of make Hormozi their brand. Like they think, okay, I'm gonna make that my brand identity, and that's also that's like really challenging to make someone your brand identity. I want to become exactly like him, and even before that, it's like, okay, I'm gonna become like Iman Gadzhi, right? We kind of saw we kind of saw that trend, right, where it's like, okay, I'm gonna have the red and blue lights. My latest video has the red and blue lights, right? I'm gonna have the red and blue lights. I'm gonna talk like Gadzhi. I'm gonna wear this outfit, right? And then and they just start talking like that. And then there's a bunch of SMMA clones, right? And you kind of see all of that happen. So this is like the kind of a cyclical thing, right? Where you kind of see that happen with Gadzhi. Now we're gonna see that happen with Hormozi. It's a different type of content. It's gonna be broad business, right? It's gonna be targeting specifically business owners. But we saw that happen to kind of like the BizOp SMMA space. That's kind of what I'm seeing at least. And I think if we all and it's gonna be obviously difficult to replicate, right? Because business knowledge is earned knowledge, right? Not everybody has that kind of insights. Where it's like, oh, like start a 10K a month agency. It's more, okay, you can get that kind of information in like 6 months. So people are going to try to replicate it. When people tried to replicate it with Gadzhi, they kind of found some success for like a little bit, and then it fizzled out. I think people are going to try to copy Hormozi, but the level of content is a lot more difficult to replicate. So they're going to fall flat, and then they're going to be like, okay, why did I fall flat? It's going to be really difficult because they just follow that kind of information. That's what I see.
I guess what I'm trying to challenge you on is, I agree that it's if someone's already done something and someone's really good at something, it's hard as fuck to compete on that level where it's like, I'm gonna post content about this thing and I'm really good at this thing. It's really hard to compete on that level. But the question I would have is, what's the goal of the channel? If the goal of someone's YouTube channel is to get clients from their channel or grow it or whatever, if you are top 1% awareness, like I said, you've watched all of these cycles play out. If they make a video, is their customer aware of all of this other stuff in the marketing space? Because you could make Hormozi's copy paste videos, you could make Gadzhi's copy paste videos. If you're doing that in a market where your customers have no idea what's going on with that stuff, you're gonna print. That model is gonna print in a place where they don't understand. And we're kind of talking about this from someone who's watched all these videos. We're on YouTube, clicking around. Oh, Gadzhi posted a vlog. Oh, this guy posted that. This guy posted that. That's interesting. Oh, he did a whiteboard video. Oh, he did that. That's interesting. So that's what I'm kind of thinking. Where for you does it become too big of a problem that it's been done? You know what I'm saying? It works until it doesn't. And what I'm saying is that it's going to continue to work for quite a while, potentially longer than what my opinion is that it'll work for a while, like a good while. Whereas it sounds like your opinion is, don't do it because it's not going to work.
I would say, yes, you can apply it to different markets. So I have this French client, right? He wants me to write scripts in English, and then he transcribes it or like translates it to French, right? And the French market is a lot less sophisticated. So if you apply like the Gadzhi style to like the French market, that could potentially work. That's kind of like the thesis that we came up with, because the French market is a lot less sophisticated. They haven't seen a lot of this make money online stuff. They're only recently getting into drop out of college. That part of the cycle. Yes, you can apply it to that kind of market. Where the problem is like, okay, we are all, these business guys, like these CEOs, maybe 30, $40 million dollar companies. They're trying to come and compete within the same market as Hormozy, right? And I would say yes, okay, not everyone would watch like Hormozy's specific business content, but he has like a good reach, you know, like pretty much everyone, like a lot of people would have read offers, a lot of people would have read leads, and they are pretty aware of Hormozy, right? People from my hometown is like, oh, I saw you had that Alex Hormozy video. I watched Alex Hormozy last week. That's really cool. And they're not even in business. So I think Hormozy's reach is going to grow. And if you want to stand out, you can't copy it, right? You can't copy the same style. You need a different sort of branding. You need a different sort of angle to like come in and attack the market. Because, you know, it may work for 3 months, but like, you know, what if it stops working after 3 months, and then you kind of have to pivot, and, you know, and you kind of have to like figure out, okay, do I still want to go broad business? Do I want to like niche down? Because one example is like one of the clients that I work with, he has like an e-commerce company, and he's like, oh, I want to get famous like Hormozy, and he starts posting broad content. But then the problem is he's not as articulate, right? He's not a native English speaker. Like, you know, like the information isn't as good. So like the videos don't pop off, right? And the videos don't pop off, and it's like, okay, we've just spent all of this money on the media. What are we gonna do? Am I gonna pivot to specifically just talking about e-commerce? Okay, e-commerce is substantially smaller attention market, substantially smaller TAM. And you know, and do I just get niche famous in e-commerce, or do I kind of stick to broad content? So it's like kind of like, you know, it's kind of difficult to determine what you want to do then, especially if like the cost of media and like the cost of producing a YouTube video can be somewhat high. So it's like not to say like, you know, you create videos and instantly you have to see results, right? Ideally you post, you know, a year, 2 years, 3 years, and then you can kind of reevaluate. But, you know, ideally you try to see results, you gather as much data, and then you kind of act from there. Kind of a yap, but did you get anything from that?
Yeah, it's kind of one where is your main take that you just can't copy Hormozy?
Yeah, that's my
Yeah,
main take.
because I agree with that. I
Sure.
agree with that because I think my personal opinion is that a large percentage of Hormozy's success is not only posting consistently for like 5 years, doing it a lot of times, and continually making it better, which you can see from the progression of the
Right.
production quality, etc. But it's also just leaning into his strengths, which would be he's probably done a bunch of sales calls, probably done a bunch of ad copy, probably done a bunch of direct response stuff, probably done a bunch of webinars. So that's his domain. And I think, like you said, if someone comes in and they might not be a native English speaker, they might just not be as articulate because they don't have the reps. If they come in and think we're going to have the same level of success, that's just backwards to start. Like you're just wrong. Like to start, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
So with those sorts of people, you just have to have a different strategy. Even for someone like ourselves, obviously on the younger side, haven't got 10 years in business, absolutely no way you can't compete on the authority level. There's just no way, like at all. Like you can't say $100 million CEO. You can't say I made $5 million this month because it's not true.
Yeah.
So what would you do? I guess that is the best question. What would you do? Because you're saying don't compete on this, don't compete on that. What's your solution to that problem that you've now made everyone aware of?
Yeah, I guess the solution is to not try to compete on like the copywriting level, right? Because like like what the words that Hormozy says, the information that he has is like really good copywriting, and the information is really premium. I think a good example of someone who's kind of competing is like Daniel Dalen, right? His message his message is very top of funnel, and it mainly stands out because the videography or the cinematography is something that you haven't really seen before, and he found his own kind of format. Like the POV format, and that absolutely exploded, right? It's very cinematic videos. People love watching it. It's more of like a leisure plus, and because the cinematography is good, he kind of like has status there. So like that's one really good example of someone standing out, not based on, and not based on the quality of information, but it's like, okay, just documenting my kind of life experiences. That's probably 2 steps ahead of where his target audience is. I think that's a really good example of someone standing out. Another really good way to stand out that I think hasn't really been filled yet is to be funny, right? I don't think we've had like a funny quote unquote business guy, and that may be.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah, we're working on it. Got to go to the comedy clubs, do some stand up.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't have it like that, you can't really make up for it. If you don't have it like that, you don't have it.
Yeah,
it's over.
Yeah, it do be. You kind of have to grow up with that, but yeah, I think having a comedy style business guy, not to say you have to do like TikTok dances or whatever, but it's like, okay, have some humor injected, have some personality injected into the videos, rather than just saying, okay, do these 3 things to increase your sales, or this is how you increase your prices, right? Instead of just doing that kind of content.
Well, yeah, I think we would both agree that someone like Daniel Dalen, the reason that his stuff's popped off is because he's leaning into his strengths in a massive way. Like the reason his videos look so cool is probably because he's got a real taste. Like he's got a big amount of taste about him. Like he really loves, like his office is sick. He's got all these lights. Like everything looks awesome. That's like I guarantee he's just probably does that normally. Like that's just probably stuff he normally does. So when it comes to producing his videos in a way that looks good and looks sexy and aesthetic, pause, but looks good, great looking guy, I'm sure. That's easy for him, or it's natural. It's very much his edge, and he knows that's his edge. And obviously, Hormozi, his edge might be writing and speaking and just doing that. So, the question I would bring to you is, how does someone watching this, or how does anyone find their strengths and lean into that and have the confidence to do that? So, what's the actual action item out of that? Because I agree. I think, do your strengths. That's a good example. Dalen's a good example. Hormozi's a good example. Guardsy a good example, because Guardsy's even saying this is how I live, this is what I like. So how would you actually manufacture that is what people want to know, I would say.
I think, like, number one, it's volume. And it's not, and when I say volume, it's like not making assumptions on what your audience wants with, like, your content. I think many people have the assumption that, okay, I'm just going to talk about business because this is kind of who I am, and or that people are telling me, or I'm seeing that this works right now. So they kind of just they just do that, and they don't really test content with like different styles of editing, maybe some lifestyle stuff, maybe a mixture of some business stuff, and most people don't really have the volume of content to kind of see what their personality fit with their audiences and what their specific audience resonates with. So and that's why they kind of get stuck and they get discouraged when they do the same type of content. Oh, I want this kind of brand. So I think
what's the action item there?
I think the action item is to not care so much about brand, because I think you don't figure out your brand kind of like finds you.
I would disagree with that. I would disagree with that so much, because your brand is just an extension of you. Like, do you think Hormozi is going to post gym videos and that's going to be a massive part of his brand if he wasn't already obsessed with that? Do you think Daniel Dalen, which is like what I was saying, do you think Daniel Dalen's brand would be so much about aesthetics and how stuff looks and how stuff feels if that wasn't already him? Or do you think, someone like Iman would have all this like Laura Piana stuff and all like the way that he lived? Do you think that would be a part of it if that was completely false? You know what I'm saying? It's got to start from somewhere, I guess.
Yeah, it's less of like living a false life. It's like figuring out what elements of yourself resonate with your audience more, and then you kind of blow that up, right? Because I wouldn't imagine that Hormozi would like Hormozi found that, okay, when he talks about business content, that's when like people listen, right? And that's when like his core audience comes to him. So like, okay, he doubles down on that. Iman Gadzhi probably sees that, okay, like these aspects of my brand, people really gravitate towards, right? The red and blue light is something that people really like in the aesthetics of it. So okay, I'm gonna stick to that. I'm not gonna change the colors. And like you kind of like figure that out over time. Because if Gadzhi figured out, or if Gadzhi saw the data and he saw that, okay, people really like my vlogs from like when I was doing it like 6 years ago, where he would just like whip up the camera and it's like, oh, today I'm going to this XYZ event, then he would continue doing that. But like that's just not what he's doing right now.
I don't know, because it kind of sounded like you were like, your brand finds you, but I think I would massively challenge you on that and say you have to define who you are first. That's step one.
Yeah.
Like the only good branding advice that I have gotten in my experience is that you really just have to go inward and decide what do you stand for? What's the stuff that you like? Who are you? Like how can you because if you're going to amplify who you are in the form of your brand and go and put that out there, you have to be really clear. What do I want to be associated with? Who do I want to be in 5-10 years? What sort of stuff do you want to look? What sort of stuff are you going to look back on and think that was sick? That's the sort of stuff you have to make because that's the only stuff that's going to be sustainable to make it not a false life. So someone like Guardsy, I believe the stuff he makes is so high production quality, not because he's seen on an algorithm that it gives him ticks or gives him good stuff. I think he loves his production stuff because he just loves production. And then that is the thing that has then gotten the result. The exact same way where you look at the Golden State Warriors from the NBA, they knew our strength is 3-point shooting. If we shoot more threes, we're going to get more dubs. We're going to win more. So it's like we're setting internally, this is what I love. This is the thing I'm going to double down on. Same as Dalen with his videography stuff, Guardsy with his kind of whole brand, Emoji with all of his stuff. It's like internally, we're like, this is my stuff. This is my shit. I know I'm good at this. This is what I'm going to lean into. They lean into it. They decide inside the four walls. This is what winning looks like. When it looks like this is winning. And then the people that actually end up winning are the people that they set internally. This is what we stand for. The people that win are when the audience loves that stuff as well. So it is amplifying the good stuff, and you have to decide that. And I definitely think the feedback loop will either bring stuff forward or take stuff away over time. So for example, if something is working better that you associate with, then you'll do it more. If it doesn't work, you'll do it less. But I definitely think it starts internally rather than the audience dragging out the brand from you. I would die on that hill for sure.
Okay, then let me ask you this: what if say you define your brand as XYZ? What if you never find content market fit? What if people? What if you don't actually ever get discovered? Do you think that ever happens? Because I feel like, okay, if you set very rigidly, okay, this is gonna be my brand. This is what I want to be known for. These are like my brand colors, and I want to be like super rigid about that. Sometimes you just don't find content market fit, and you don't get like the results that you want from like the media that you put out.
I don't think everyone deserves to be looked at. Like, real shit. If I post on YouTube the most optimized way forever, and I did it for 20 years, and I only ever get 1,000 views, and I try really, really hard, it might just be that I'm not that interesting. Mm-hmm. And I would say that to myself. I would look in the mirror. If I look at my stuff right now, and it's like, why do I get like 2,000 views on a video that I think is a good video? It's probably not that interesting. Like, it's probably going to appeal to a certain subsection of people, and not many people outside of that. Mm-hmm. Very honestly, to myself. So if someone doesn't ever get results on YouTube, it's probably because they don't deserve those results. I very much believe in that. So if you really suck on camera, all that time, you're probably not going to get that much traction. I believe that. Like, if your stuff deserves the views that it gets, like the exact same reason, like if Mr. Beast started a brand new channel and he started making videos, he'd print immediately. The algorithm is going to take care of him because the stuff he makes is going to be that good. So if your stuff isn't good, it's not going to get views. And if you don't get traction, it's not going to get views. That's not related to your brand or your brand colors. That's going to relate to the actual content that you can make, which is like if you suck on camera or if you make shit stuff, it's not going to work. So if it never works, it's like you might need to just change who you are. Because, for example, if you look at like a high school classroom, there's going to be people that get straight A pluses. There's going to be people that get C's. There's going to be people that get D's, E's, and F's, or F's, whatever. And that fail. In any marketplace or any competitive thing, there's going to be people that suck and people that suck less. So if you never get results on content, you're just closer to the side that sucks compared to the side that works. And content is just an amplifier as well. So if you're someone that's really easily popular, really, really crushes at everything, of course, when you amplify that, you become the Nelk boys. If you're awesome, people love you, and you get on content, it's just an amplifier, it just gives you leverage. But if you suck, and you're boring, you're not funny, you might even be ugly, like us. When you do content, it's just leverage. So it's just, it's a 10 times multiplier on whoever you are and whatever you do. So if you're ugly, suck at speaking, you're not funny. Of course, when you multiply 0, you get 0. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like you need to kind of, if you suck and you really like, damn, I really want to get results, you kind of have to change who you are a bit. And that might be one. If you're that married to getting the result on content, you might just have to change who you are. I probably wouldn't opt for that. I'd be like, maybe I'm just a guy that's going to sit at 10,000 views or 10,000 subscribers forever. And that is what it is. And you can just keep going and see what happens. But like a good example is Charlie Morton. So he was at however many subs for ages and ages and ages. And then he made like a tweak with his brand where he's like, I'm just going to do this. Like, I'm going to be a bit more funny, be a bit more authentic, maybe a bit more himself. I don't know, maybe a bit less himself. I got no idea. Yeah. And then he just printed like 100,000 subs in no time, or however many subs he's gained. He's been popping off. So that's like one of those things where he, in his current form, had reached X. And that was kind of a ceiling on him. And then he kind of changed the whole branding. Well, not the whole brand, but he definitely brought out a few different tools that he would have had in his kind of persona or personality. Then that was what got the breakthrough. So it's kind of like if you're someone who doesn't get results, you need to change, is the point of that. It's a lot of yap to just say, like, you probably like you might need to just edit your stuff and personality, if that's related, which is really harsh, but I would say that to myself as well. Maybe I'm hard on myself, but that's what I would say to myself if I sucked, which I might. So I might be telling that to myself right now as well. You know?
Yeah. So like that would be, getting better at business, number one. So it's like, the copy and like what you say is a lot more insightful. Getting better at storytelling, getting better on camera, getting better lighting, getting better editing, like all of that. You like I guess what you're trying to say is it's less related to brand, but more related to like the quality of the actual content and I guess you're trying to say that, okay, if you figure out, okay, I want this to be my brand, if you stick to it but get better at the content level, then it will still work. Then it should work no matter what. Yeah.
Yeah, but not even just to the very micro version of like the copy or the production of the video. It's also, if you want this to be your brand, you might have to change to become that. So if I want to be, like, I use me as an example so I can be harsh. If I want to be really, well known as someone who's very smart and very wise, makes good decisions, and is really, really business savvy, and my 20-year-old self, when I start making content, is thinking, I need to get that result. I need to be known for all this stuff. This is what I want my brand to be. Do you think my dumbass 20-year-old self or 21-year-old self is going to be good enough in that moment to get the results of that person that's my idealized brand? Fuck no. There's no chance that I'm going to be like, it's just stupid. Like it's incredibly arrogant to think that me in my current form could get the results that I want to get. Like, you are the one who has to undergo the transformation to get the brand that you want, usually, in my opinion. So for, like I said, if I want to be known as someone who's really good at decision making, really good at business, really good at all this stuff, like, you have to, like I said, I'll use me. I have to get way fucking better to get that result. I can't just be sitting in my current form and think I'm good enough to get that brand or good enough to get that result, because I'm not. You know what I'm saying? So if you're someone who's not good on camera, if you're someone who's not that good at business, but you don't want to be known as business, it's the same way as if I want to have a basketball YouTube channel and I can't shoot for shit, how am I going to get results in basketball channel?
Right.
I have to do something else 100%. Like, I have to lean into another edge that I have. Or, like you said, if you just completely are not getting results with anything and you have no edge, you kind of have to get an edge, or you're just going to be kind of that type of person that doesn't get the results because they don't have anything to multiply with the content. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so I guess what I'm seeing a lot is like there's a lot of entitlement.
Yes.
With, I deserve to have this kind of brand, and what you're trying to say is like, okay, if your brand isn't already that and you're not blowing up, that just probably means it's less of like an algorithm thing or like the algorithm is not hitting. It's more of you're just not worthy of the brand that you kind of want.
Yes.
And I think that's really sick insight of like, okay, you're not there, but like, I guess that's okay.
Yeah, you can just document.
Yeah.
And that's why I like the idea of documenting, because I watch my own stuff. I'm like, fuck, I wish I was more qualified. I wish I had 10 extra years in business so I could talk about this thing way better. But it's like, you can either not create content until you have that, or you can just kind of talk about the stuff that you can talk about, and then do more stuff in the background, and really try and build, really try and get better, really try and work on yourself, so you can just like work towards that. And it's either like you can just not create content until you eventually reach that day. That's an option. That's a decent option.
Yeah.
Or you can kind of take a really honest frame, which is what I need to get better at leaning into. Because when I watch my own videos, I'm pretty good. I'm like, oh, you look like a 20-year-old dickhead who's not like just trying to like talk about being motivated. Like, you know what I'm saying? When you go on Instagram and you scroll down your reels and it's just some idiot, and then it's you, and you're like, oh, it's over. Like, it's you. Like, you're the worst. And I look at it, I'm like, like probably need to take a bit more of an authentic frame because you're not there yet. So 100%, I think it's, if you want a brand that's that big, you have to understand that means 1 million people have to like you. That means this many people have to like you. You know?
Yeah.
So if you meet people and they don't like you and they think you're kind of stuck up in an asshole, why would they follow you? Especially for people that want to go more mass market, or they want more followers. If you're like a hermit that just works all the time, it's probably not going to be that interesting to a regular person. And I say it to myself as well. I'm a hermit. I work all the time. I don't do that much stuff outside of this space.
Yeah.
So like if I go on YouTube and I'm trying to make content that appeals to those people, hypothetically if I was, how am I going to have success? That wouldn't make sense that I would have success because I don't appeal to that person in general. So it's 100%. I think. I don't know. Do you want to talk? I've been yapping. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. I think it's really interesting that it kind of just wraps back to like you don't really have the credentials yet, or like you don't really have the experience to kind of create content at that level, or to be kind of like the person that you want. And creating content in the business space is like really interesting compared to like other markets, because in other markets, and like if you're like say creating Minecraft content, or you're creating gaming content, or you're creating entertainment content, it's like it does kind of come down to like the idea and like how good and like how stand out of an idea you can kind of have. But like in the business space, what I've kind of seen is like, okay, you can have really good ideas, but if you don't have the credentials, if you don't have the experience to back that up, it's going to be really difficult to execute on that, right? It's going to be really difficult to have that kind of content. So it's really only those people who do, and then you have the ideas. The ideas is kind of like an amplifier. Then you see like a lot of the results. So it just, in the business space, it does, like I do firmly believe it does come back to, okay, what have you done outside of the content to make it really good?
Yeah, it's like not a new insight for sure. Like it's kind of obvious, but it's like, oh, that thing that everyone says is actually true. Like for example, my girlfriend told me like an investment. She was like, oh yeah, with this super fund, you should go like this type of strategy. And I was like, yeah, okay. Like my girlfriend's a uni student. She's like 20.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh yeah, okay. Like sure. I was obviously like, I was like, yeah, like good idea, sure. And then I went to my accountant and he told me the exact same thing. Like my accountant was like, yeah, do this. And then I was telling her, I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this. And she was like, oh yeah, I told you to do that. And you just like kind of dismissed it. And I was like, oh shit, really? Like I did do that. But when my accountant said it was a fact. And if you go back to like Hormozi's equation, the value equation, if your perceived likelihood of achievement is 0 when some dumbass tells you to do something, the value of it is 0. But if someone who's really sharp, has experience, tells you to do something, your perceived likelihood of achievement might be 100. So everything else could be equal. The content could be equal. Everything could be equal. But if it's coming from a place of, I know this is going to work, the value can either 100x or go to 0. Just purely based on who it is. So who you are and how likely something is to happen severely impacts the value. So that's kind of the theory behind why would something work or not work in the business space. The hack that I found though was that something that YouTubers do that you've done that I noticed in one of your videos, you said, I've reviewed thousands of scripts, or I spent 50 hours reviewing this one script.
Yeah.
My perceived likelihood of achievement just went up with you having 0 credentials in my brain, because I haven't heard your credentials hypothetically. If I'm a cold viewer, your authority just went through the roof because you've not necessarily had a macro result where you might have built a YouTube channel with millions of subscribers, but you've still improved that likelihood of achievement by saying I've reviewed thousands of scripts.
Yeah.
So it's not that just because you don't have a massive track record that you can't make good videos that get traction. It's just that you have to do it differently. Do you know what I'm saying? Because you've done that really, really well.
Yeah, because like that's like called an input bias, where it's like, okay, I put in 40 hours, you just have to give me 10 minutes of your attention, and then you can get all of the insights, right? It's basically 40 hours of insights compressed into 10 minutes. That's like kind of that's the psychology of it, and it's like, okay, I'm gonna give you all of this really good insights and information just from this one video. That's like that's definitely one of the tactics to increase the perceived likelihood of achievement.
What else would you do? Because you're good at it.
Like saying time. So like, okay, I put in XYZ amount of time. I think that's one of the really good tactics. Like another really great way to hook is like have some sort of humor. Is like have kind of a subtext. So in like my Imangaji video, right? The hook was, Imangaji made $40 million with one YouTube video, and he used it to buy a private jet. And then I kind of set the stakes afterwards, which was, because I want to buy a private jet, I spent 40 hours doing all of this. So it's like, okay, it's
funny
like,
guy. It's like, oh, funny
yeah,
guy.
funny guy. No, but it's less of funny guy. It's like, okay, now it's like, okay, I kind of have a personal investment in it, right? And it's like, okay, I kind of want to buy a private jet. It's like, okay, like kind of funny guy, kind of somewhere in between. But it's like, okay, like setting stakes, and I'm not saying like it has to be like life or death stakes, right? That's what everyone does in the entertainment side. But it's like, even something simple like, I'm gonna do this thing, and if I don't achieve it in 24 hours, my friend Leo here is gonna punch me in the face, right? Or I'm gonna shave my head, right? Something funny, something comical. Doesn't necessarily have to be insanely true, but it's like, it's like kind of like, okay, will it or will it not happen? That's one of the tactics for sure.
Yeah, I suppose it just depends on what content you're making and who it's for.
Yeah, exactly. Or like in say in one of like the Jordan Welch videos I was watching, it was like $100 net worth versus like $100 million net worth. Like basically like the stakes behind that video was that, okay, how are we gonna like 10x this kid's net worth, and then he brings this kid to go see a bunch of these millionaires to like get insights from them. So there's definitely a couple ways to do it. I should make a list of all of the ways to increase the perceived likelihood of achievement, because that's I think really great way to hook, especially if you don't have insane credentials immediately, because it's easy for like Hormozi to say, I sold $100 million company. Not that selling $100 million company is easy, but like he has done that, so it's like, okay, you can hook up that, but in different contexts there's definitely different ways to do it.
Yeah, because I think the main sort of thesis of what we're talking about is, okay, so this is a strategy that someone's using really well. How can you break it down to get, some type of result without having that big of a track record? Because obviously most people don't have that size of track record.
Yeah.
But it sounds like what the theory is that you kind of have to, step one, figure out exactly what your strengths are. What can you do that someone could look at and think that's worth hearing about?
Yeah.
And then number two is kind of put in the work that's required to be worthy of sort of someone looking at your YouTube video and thinking that was not a waste of my time. That's like 2 steps. Is like, figure out what's your strengths. 2, do the work that's required to be worthy of getting sort of attention. And then what's number 3? Would you say?
What's number 3?
What's number 3? I don't know. I have no idea. So I'm like, do you just like post? Like, is that the whole action? Is like strengths, figure out what you need to do to get looked at, and then 3 is kind of like synthesize that or distill that into a short, punchy video, or however long the video needs to be.
Yeah, like you really have to meet the audience where they're kind of at, and I think many people don't do that. So that's like meeting them at their current awareness level. Okay, and it's like delivering it in a super simple way, like how Hormozi does it, right? He's really good at simplifying concepts and not using jargon, and really giving value through making it simple. And I think many people, especially many of these guys who run big businesses, that they're always dealing with a bunch of technical terms, and that kind of flows into their content. But if you can really decide to like simplify it, use simple words, less corporate speak, more like you're talking to a friend, and that comes down to the script writing level. That's all really important. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that makes sense to me. What would you say the action items are? Like, let's say you're someone watching this video, you have a business, you're trying to make content, or even if you're just trying to make content. Knowing all of this stuff that we've discussed, what would you do? Because I need it for my channel as well. I need to pump up my channel. I need to make it better.
Yeah, I think it's like really identifying your strengths, and then just leaning into that, and not necessarily do you have to have built like insanely huge company, and you don't always have to like flash numbers, like flash stripe screenshots and numbers like that. But it's okay, like identifying your strengths. Okay, maybe I'm just better at yapping to the camera, right? Maybe I'm like really charismatic like that. Okay, then maybe like the more relatable TikToks is kind of for you, then you can go in that direction. Or if there's a way that you can outwork your competition, right? As you said, okay, I put in this amount of time to learn this. This is all of the insights. How can you put in more time to outwork the competition, right? So it's like number one, figuring out the strengths. Number two is to position your video that way, because most people don't position the video according to the strengths, right? They don't have that strong hook, they don't have that strong title, they don't have that strong thumbnail that leans into their strength. So like people don't really see it, right? They hide it 5 minutes into the video. So like that kind of defeats the purpose. And number three, it's to like just post and like be consistent with it, because it's like one of the most difficult things as a business owner is to actually hit post, is to get in front of the camera, right? Because scripting takes 4 or 5 hours. Getting in front of the camera, super tiring. After we record this pod, I'm gonna take a nap, maybe. Yeah, so because like recording is really tiring, right? And having to fit that into your schedule is just really tough. But if you make it something consistent, where it's like, okay, Friday 4 p.m. I'm gonna record a pod. Friday 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. I'm gonna set aside this time to get in front of the camera and record short form content. And it's like being religious about that, and like making that as part of your routine. I think that's really important. I would say those are like the 3 action steps. Like make content as a part of your routine, rather than just if I feel like it, then I'll post. If I don't feel like it, if I'm having off day, business is really tough, then it's like, okay, oh, maybe I can skip a week. Oh, I skipped a week. Maybe 2 weeks is okay, and then it kind of just spirals like that.
You can't talk. You didn't post for a month. You didn't post for 2 months. So did I. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, no, Nick's video is coming on in a bit. So yeah,
I know. Like I 100% agree. I think if you run a business, any sort of business, I don't think there's any downside to posting stuff, provided that you make it better over time. Like if you post stuff that's completely trash, obviously the downside is that you're wasting time. So you really have to make sure the stuff's good and you're putting enough effort into it to make it good. I do think it's better to not post than it is to post something that's really, really bad that takes time. So if it's taking time and it's trash and not getting an ROI, like you need to get better or stop posting. 100% I would prefer to just get better, because I think it's obviously higher ROI. But yeah, I just think if you're running a business, even if you have literally zero track record, if you have zero track record, you've probably got a lot of time on your hands, because you're not doing that much stuff. So if you've got zero track record, you have all the time in the world. 100% action item from this video is, even if you don't have clients, you don't have customers, put in enough work that what you say should get listened to by someone who's your ideal customer. So if your ideal customer is a 7-figure business owner, you need to put in enough work to make something that's even 10, 20 minutes. That 10, 20 minutes has to be valuable enough for a 7-figure business owner, 8-figure business owner to watch that, or whoever your customer is to watch it. And you can do that just by saying, let's say I sell, sales funnels. Yeah. You can make something valuable enough just by going and reviewing 1,000 sales funnels or 100 sales funnels. And then anyone can click on that video and get value from it and enjoy it and say, well, now someone who's your ideal customer has just watched that video.
Yeah.
That's a major tick in the checkbox with zero track record. So that just unlocks content for so many people. I think other than that, the only reason you wouldn't post is like a limiting belief. And my solve for limiting beliefs, you can write this one down if you want.
Yeah.
If you have a limiting belief,
notebook,
pretend like it doesn't exist and then just continue anyway. And just pretend like, just act like you would, behave like you would behave if that limiting belief didn't exist, and then it just goes away. I shit you not, that is literally that's the strategy I've used for limiting beliefs. It sounds simple, but it's just like, just how would you act if it didn't exist? Because most people understand that they have a limiting belief. They're like, yeah, I know it's a limiting belief, but I just don't do it. It's like, what would you do if you didn't have that belief? Oh, you would just post? Okay, just do that then. Just do that. Like, you don't have to believe that it's going to work to do it. You just do it. Like, okay. Like, if everyone's telling me to do this thing, maybe it's worth my time. Maybe. And then if you do it and your belief was true, you can tell the people that were saying that it's a limiting belief to screw off and that they were wrong. If it's really that bad.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If you have a limiting belief about content and you post and it doesn't work, you can tell the person that told you to post content that they were wrong and it didn't work. Or you can just sit with your limiting belief and feel like a dickhead that you have a limiting belief for. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I get annoyed about that. I get like passionate about that because people just say they have a limiting belief. Like, if you know it's limiting, why would you allow it to limit you?
That's facts.
I'm annoyed about that. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, even when I find myself with a limiting belief, I'm like, don't be stupid. I need to do it anyway. You know, you don't have to let it limit you.
Yeah. Is that the pod?
I think that's it. Yeah, that's pretty much all I'd say. I just got my, I've finally got everything's off my chest. Oh my God.
Okay.
About limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
The bane of my existence,
Yeah, we got to do a pod on that.
It just got solved in 3 minutes. Like,
Yeah.
that's literally, like, I don't do anything else. Like, you can, with specific beliefs, you can obviously break them down and say, this is why that belief is wrong. Or you can just skip all that and then just say, like, I'm just going to pretend it didn't exist. Super efficient.
Facts.
Just mind control yourself and just pretend it didn't exist. Yeah, just get 100 mil as well. Like, just fix it.